welcome to Week 7 here of our Cavalier Insider Preview. Andrew Ramspacher and John Shifflett. Our 7th game preview, our 3rd setting, this time in the upstairs studios of the Daily Progress headquarters here. This one with a little bit of a dim lighting, maybe a little symbolic of Virginia's season thus far. Cavs currently on a 4-game losing streak, 2-4, entering Saturday's homecoming game with Maryland, who, surprisingly enough, 3-2 so far, 1-0 in the ACC. UVA right now just a 1-point home favorite. Really, this game will dictate its future, if its future hasn't already been laid out for it. This is huge.
Yeah, not to sound hyperbolic, but I think this pretty much Virginia's season rides on this game. You lose this game, you're 2-5. You haven't won a game in the ACC, and you're in really big trouble. You win this game, you're in a little bit better shape. You're 3-4, going to a winnable game against Wake Forest, where you win that one, you can go in your bye week 4-4. So I think the whole season could turn on this game, or it could continue down this path they're going on now, where they've lost 4 in a row.
Well, last week obviously kind of had that must-win sense about it as well, and UVA did not come out on top. Really didn't come close. It was up 17-14 at halftime at Duke, and just completely flops in the last 30 minutes. Blue Devils scored 28 unanswered to win that game, 42-17. This big story coming in ended up kind of just being a side story amongst its other woes, but Philip Sims did make his first start last week against the Blue Devils, completes half of his 42 attempts for 268 yards, but 2 interceptions, and really that was a big reason why they got, they put Sims in and took Rocco out, because Rocco had trouble taking care of possession, a lot of interceptions, some fumbles in there, and Sims for the most part had his ups and downs. A big down there was his 2 interceptions. Yeah,
you got to limit those turnovers, and that's been killing Virginia all year. They're almost last in the country in turnover margin. They're minus 12 here. He's in this system, the quarterback's got to take care of the football. He's got to make sound decisions, make the proper reads and progressions, and right now that's just not happening. Sims he seemed to be looking deep a lot, and they were like a little short, a step too long. Whereas Rocco was doing more checkdowns and more reads like that. Maybe Laser works with him this week, and they do shorter routes, maybe some swing passes, some hitches, and some stuff like that to kind of maybe build some confidence and kind of establish more of a passing tree than just throwing it deep every single play.
Yeah, you mentioned Bill Laser and Philip Sims. Afterward, both kind of shared blame in the loss. Laser felt like he didn't call a good enough game, and Sims felt like, quite frankly, he didn't play well enough. And the combination of the two obviously led to a pretty poor offensive performance. Won that in the first half, 184 rushing yards. Second half, just 2 rushing yards on 9 carries. Completely abandoned the running game when Duke scored a couple early, got behind, went to the pass, and it was pretty easy for the Duke defense. Now, moving on to Maryland, talk about defense. Number 7 in the country overall, number 7 in the country against the run. It's really incredible considering the Terps last year were last in the ACC in total defense. This year, new defensive coordinator, a new scheme, switched to a 3-4. They let Joe Villano, their All-American defensive lineman, kind of roam on that front line there. And he's just an animal and opens up some lanes to linebackers. What can this Virginia offense do, which has been struggling against this Maryland defense?
Like I just said, they're probably going to have to work on the short passing game. Probably establishing the run is going to be difficult with this Maryland run defense, which has been really stout. One of the teams actually held West Virginia remotely in check. They've been running wild, but Maryland kind of held them in check. Virginia's going to have to work on the short passes, try to open things up, and maybe try to establish a run, but it's going to be difficult. And then maybe you can go to the air later on. They went to the air, went to the deep passes early on against Duke. Maybe they work on the short stuff and then set them up for the deep passes, and maybe that'll loosen that defense up.
Yeah, in that Duke game, Laser did mention, and the game plan coming in was Duke kind of on tape showed like they had pressing corners. Well, you have Philip Sims, who has a real big right arm. Kind of made sense. And to be honest, they were just off barely on a couple times. There was one to Perry Jones, which were just, fingertips. There's a couple other ones to Darius Jennings, just a little bit underthrown. So they were close on those big throws. They just did not complete them. I counted 6 in the first half, if you conclude a halfback toss by Perry Jones. So that's something they need to improve on. Obviously, going deep, as you mentioned, the short intermediate routes. Now, defensively for Virginia, they do kind of get a break. They don't really play an explosive offense in Maryland. They have one explosive player, it's Stephon Diggs, a freshman, who's really talented, really good, and Maryland will try everything to kind of get the ball in his hands. Really, if in my opinion, if Virginia contains him, they kind of contain that Maryland offense.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Maryland kind of do the same thing Louisiana Tech and Duke have done, kind of run those short, quick swings, probably some bubble screens to get him the ball in space and let him do his work. He does really good yards after the catch-wise. I would certainly think Virginia would put Nicholson on him and maybe roll a safety over there to kind of keep him in check. Otherwise, they really don't have a lot of playmakers. But yeah, I would certainly think they would probably go to the bubble screens to try to get him moving and get some yards after the catch.
So Maryland, a team with a bunch of defense, not a lot of offense. Virginia, a team just with question marks on both sides of the ball. Could make for an intriguing matchup tomorrow at Scott Stadium. Who do you got?
I think Virginia wins this one 28-21. I think the gravity of the game, I think they're quite aware of it. You know, this is homecoming. This is kind of a last stand almost. I think Phillip Sims is going to come out and have a pretty good game. Virginia wins 28-21.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm still kind of I'm not totally pessimistic with this team yet. I think there's still enough talent to take a game like this when they absolutely have it. And I think that offense scores just enough, wins this one 20-13. So that will do it for our Cavalier Insider Week 7 preview. We'll see you on the field after the game.